What a crazy, crazy day in the National Hockey League yesterday. We had ourselves all the clinching scenarios, all the elimination scenarios, all of the worst pick in the league odds scenarios. It was kind of funny to see how everything went down. But I wanted to focus on a few games from yesterday's NHL action. Of course, we have ourselves Arizona versus the Dallas Stars, and we also had ourselves the Vegas Golden Knights versus the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, this isn't really a Vegas video. We're going to talk about Vegas later in the show. But there is indeed a connection that the Vegas game had with the other game we discussed, Arizona and Dallas, but pretty much it was kind of related to the playoffs, and if you're talking about the Montreal Canadiens, well, they're not really close to the playoffs this year. In fact, they are kind of in the opposite direction. But long story short, the Vegas Golden Knights needed to win. They need to win. They needed to win yesterday against the Blackhawks to make the Stanley Cup playoffs. And they didn't do that. They went to the third straight shootout they had. Jack Eichel had a no-look pass right to Caleb Jones. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show as it goes on. But Vegas ultimately lost. On the other hand, you had yourselves the Dallas Stars, who needed themselves a point against the Arizona Coyotes to clinch a playoff spot and to solidify the Vegas chances of being out. Guess what? They had a 3-0 lead on the Arizona Coyotes, but then they blew it. A third-period comeback for Arizona to tie things up at 3 apiece and send things to extra time, which gave Dallas the extra point they needed to clinch a playoff spot, and which gave Arizona a pretty interesting opportunity to get themselves a clinching scenario too. Long story short, the Coyotes won in overtime, thanks to former Vancouver Canuck Travis Boyd, who scored in the extra frame to send the Coyotes to a very interesting comeback victory. But with this win, the Arizona Coyotes put themselves in a position where they could not finish last in the NHL. That honor now belongs to the Montreal Canadiens. All it took was, what the hell is the number, 250-something days for the Canadiens to go from Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals to last in the league. And again, the season isn't even over. We still have a few more games to go. It's just Montreal has officially clinched last place, and they have officially clinched the highest odds at the first overall pick for a draft that will be held in Montreal. Now, the odds are kind of funny, because if you go over to the numbers and everything, the Canadiens have an 18.5% chance at winning the entire lottery to draft first overall. Now, that is not actually the odds that they have at picking first overall. Here's the Reddit post that kind of goes over it over here. The Canadiens have a 25.5% chance for first overall, and they have an 18.5% chance to win the lottery in order to pick first. Now, there's a difference here. And the reason there is a difference is because of the new rules the NHL has implemented into the draft lottery, wherein a team cannot move more than 10 spots up. So theoretically, if Montreal is second, they win the second overall lottery, but the team that wins the first overall pick is in the 12 to 16 range. That team that wins first overall cannot move up to 1 since they're in 12 to 16. Montreal would still pick first. It's very strange, but Montreal has a better opportunity at picking first overall this season than any other last-place team in the NHL the past few years because of the 10-spot limit. That's an extra 7% that Montreal has to pick first overall, and they don't even really need to win the lottery to pick first overall. They just need to win a lottery and hope that the other team that wins the other lottery is further enough behind that they don't actually get to that top 2 spot. So Montreal is pretty lucky in this respect, but at the same time, I know a lot of Canadiens fans will look at this entire season and say, man, how can you say we're lucky? Like, we just had to go through that. We just saw that. That season was really bad, and now we're finally getting ourselves the rewards, or not even really rewards, but it's paying off. Man, okay, that's not even the right way to say it either. Paying off, that makes it seem like it's a good thing. Here's what Habs Chronicle said about the entire thing. This has been one of the hardest seasons of our lifetimes. We've all been watching the standings since November, knowing the tank was on. 6 excruciating months later, we've finally done it. Are we proud? No. But are we happy and relieved? Yeah. I think that's the best way to go out there and put it. And so now, heading into a draft that is taking place in Montreal, you have yourselves a few options. You talk about Shane Wright, you talk about Logan Cooley, you talk about Juraj Slafkovsky. The Montreal Canadiens are guaranteed a top 3 pick. If they don't win the first or the second overall lotteries, the worst they can do is third. So they're going to get a very good player in the 2022 NHL Entry Draft. It just really depends on who you ask. Now, I don't want to toot my own horn too much over here, but we have made videos talking about the potential first, second, third overall pick. We talked about Lambert, we talked about Savoy, we talked about Slafkovsky and Cooley and Wright, etc. So this channel is sort of becoming the hub, I guess, if you want to go out there and start talking about who these teams could be focusing on when it comes to the 2022 NHL Entry Draft. So if you're a Canadiens fan, then hey, go ahead and check out the rest of the series, because we do have some pretty good tidbits and nuggets of information about these guys, so you can go ahead and see who is the best fit you think could be there. Shane Wright, of course, is a potential Rocket Richard candidate. He's a goal scorer at heart, and he is such a good player in the offensive zone. He just knows what to do. It's why he's so mature, it's why he's so developed, and it's why he is the projected first overall pick in this draft. Logan Cooley is incredible with the puck on his stick. He commands the pace of play so well when he's got it in the offensive zone, and he's not afraid to bust out a move or two to dangle by guys. He's just such a gifted offensive player. You have Juraj Slafkovsky, who is a big power winger who's got really good shooting instincts, and he could just become a very good power forward should things develop in the proper way. And then you still have everybody else. Brad Lambert is playing on a team that you could debate wasn't giving him the best of opportunities to succeed. Matthew Savoy needs to work on his evasiveness, but he is still a very agile and quick-minded thinker of the game. And then you have everybody else too. Frank Nazar III is in there. He's a workhorse. He's got good finishing ability. You have Isaac Howard, who is a pure offensive playmaker too. There are a lot of prospects in this year's draft, and I think if you are a Canadiens fan looking to see what's going on, not only with the Montreal first-round pick, but with also the other firsts that have been thrown around there too. There is the Carolina one that is no longer Montreal's because that's sent over in the Christian Dvorak deal. But there are indeed some conversations you could be having about the draft, especially since the draft is going to be in Montreal, right? So there's a lot more fodder to be excited for there. But either way, the Montreal Canadiens have now clinched last place in the NHL. They've got a 25.5% chance at picking first overall, which includes scenarios that they don't even win the lottery. So good on Montreal for getting this standing over here. Kent Hughes, you guys are going to have some room to work with once you get to the NHL draft. I'm just kind of hoping we see some trades. We see some trades and draft picks that are pretty interesting. I would be very interested in seeing what happens with this team directionally once Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon take the stage in the 2022 draft. By the way, because they're talking about how the draft is going to be in Montreal and everything, right? I assume that it's just going to go back to normal. Like in 2019, where we had a draft in Vancouver, where the fans were all there, where the prospects were all there in the lower bowl, and all the teams were scattered around the floor, right? That's the scenario we're going to see, right? Not anything related to some sort of remote kind of thing where the prospects are on the phone or via Zoom or something like that. Everybody's going to be there, right? I know the pandemic is still technically around, but at some point, you gotta go out there and start living your lives, right? And maybe 2022 is gonna be that after 2 straight years of virtual drafting. Did we even have virtual drafting last year? Yeah, no, we did. Right, we did. It was done via Zoom, I remember, because we did a stream for that. And yeah, we're gonna be doing a stream for everything else. So draft, lottery, draft, hopefully playoff games too. I kind of want to see who I should go for in the playoffs, because that is a big question as well. I focused a lot on Montreal last year, so yeah, that was fun because I'm a Montreal fan, right? But yeah, we can't do that this year because Montreal's not there. So any suggestions on which teams to follow in the playoffs? I mean, I was kind of thinking New York, I was kind of thinking LA, but I don't know. You can let me know in the comments all your thoughts about that and those conversations too. I'm sorry that this video has kind of been derailed into talking about everything else aside from the Montreal Canadiens, but, you know, Montreal finishing last is not that big of a topic in itself. We have to add some cushioning around the conversation to pad the video so it gets to 10 minutes. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Talk to me in the comments all your thoughts about the Canadiens, the draft, the prospects, and yesterday's action, which saw the Canadiens clinch last place in the league. I hope you enjoyed this video. Trolls 99. and bye.